Good morning, everyone. Welcome to News You Can Use, a Pennsylvania Stands Up podcast about people, power, and politics. I'm your host, Pele Irgangladen. I use he, him, and I'm the organizing director at PA Stands Up. And we have a very special show for you today. It's the morning. We don't usually record in the morning, and it is 2 days after Election Day. And so we are doing our special post-election podcast episode. And I'm here with our Director of Narrative and Communications, Dr. Ashleigh Strange. We are tired. We are wired. We are ready to talk about Election Day. Dr. Strange, how are you doing?
I am awake, which is all that I can say, and I am strongly advocating that in the future, PA Stands Up has branded, of course, branded swag of like little droplets of Visene to hand out on election night. Because of all the time that I just had to spend like staring at a computer screen, my eyes have not completely come back to working properly.
God, the last time I used Visine, I think, was in high school, and it was for other reasons. But I understand that reason too. Well, Ash, both of us have been through, quite a few elections in our democracy that we supposedly live in. And what is election day like for you? Do you have any habits, anything that you find yourself doing on election day?
Other than speculating about you somehow smoking Visine, I think that one of the things that always stuck with me is that during GOTV, it was always told to me that like you're not allowed to shave anything during GOTV. It's like a good luck thing. Luckily, I'm ahead of the game. I don't think I've shaved anything in quite a while, but and what do you know, it worked out. It worked out in a lot of places, but I think that for like election day habits, I always take a poll shift. I take a shift as a poll greeter first thing in the morning. The polls open at 7 a.m. and my polling place is just down the street. And so I grab my big sign that my election protection sign to put out front in case people need assistance. And I walk down there and I just stand there first thing in the morning. And there's never like a huge crowd of people, but it's a good time. It's a good time to sit there standing with like the same folks every single time that are out there greeting for their candidates. And it was great to see a bunch of like new people out there as well, people who hadn't previously been in the election. And this year I actually got to shoot the shit a little bit with some of the Republicans that were doing some poll greeting because we weren't directly against each other. It's a primary.
Oh, wow. Yeah. For the only time of the year we can be like, all right, we're on our own side of the street.
There's more that unites us than divides us. For example, isn't it cold on this side of the building? Boy, am I glad I didn't wear shorts.
Yeah, there's always a lot of interesting things at the polls between who gets the sunny side of the polling place, who gets the shady side of the polling place, people standing outside. I saw that a lot this year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say on election day, so for the past few years, I have volunteered with, whoever the local progressive campaign is. And the thing that I like doing is I like driving around and delivering lunch to poll standers. It is one of the most enjoyable things to bring people sustenance when they're out there doing something good in the world. And so I just get to go around and I don't usually know the people. I just walk up to them and I'm like, hey, turkey or ham? And they're like, veggie? And we're like, yeah, because, we have veggie too. And so, yeah, I was driving.
But you judge them a little bit.
Well, turkey's the first choice. And if someone picks anything other than turkey, there's a little bit of disconnect between like my soul and their soul. People on this podcast maybe know I've had a turkey sandwich every day for lunch since I was probably 12 years old. I'm 30, so I don't know how many turkey sandwiches that is. We'll have to ask the statistics experts, which I also wanted to say that on election day, there are 2 days a year where I become a statistics expert, right? We're tracking turnout. We're looking at precincts. We're like, all right, 37% of the vote is in from 22 of 38 precincts. So that means this percentage of voters might vote for us. It's like, and to be honest, it's only for like an hour. It's like when the polls close, as results are coming in, we become expert statisticians. And And now that I'm not anymore. I lost it. So I'll have to wait till next election.
Well, look, you're talking to somebody who had to take remedial math in college 3 times. So, look, I am more than grateful for everybody who loves looking at numbers on election night.
Yeah, that's me. And let's actually get into what happened. So, PA stands up, right? Our turfs. We operate in the Lehigh Valley, in Berks County, in Lancaster, and in Northeast PA in NEPA, which covers Luzerne County, Lackawanna County. These places have Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. And Ash, how did it go on election night? What do we have to report?
It went very, very well out there. So, just looking at this absolutely spectacular list of candidates, I'm literally not going to read them all, but we had two newcomers. We had a lot of newcomers, but we had two newcomers to politics that ran for Luzerne County Council and won their primaries. We got a re-election for Jessica Rothschild for Scranton City Council, and then in Berks, a complete sweep. If I knew sports terms, I'd tell you exactly what that was. But at the county level, county commissioner, county treasurer, register of wills, all these people won. Jess Royer, who will be our guest on the podcast the next time, all the Reading City Council district winners, and Reading School Board, Wilson School Board in Lehigh County. We also saw some county, Lehigh and Northampton. We saw Tara Zarinsky and John Irons at the county level. Some school board candidates won, and then a lot of school board candidates really, really won. And then Cece Gerlach for Allentown City Council, just wins down the board. And then, of course, Lancaster. And this is the part where I just read off every single one of these 33 names that Lancaster stands up endorsed, correct?
No, 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 no. Listen, winning is good, but we don't have time to list all of them.
You don't have time, but you know what? We got a week off after this, so.
Listen, as is my job in my household on Sunday mornings, it was a clean sweep. It was a clean sweep. So yeah, I mean, not a totally clean sweep. Let's be clear. We PA stands up in this last cycle. We endorsed across our chapters 55 candidates, and the way these endorsements work is our local chapters have electoral teams that are made up of members, and they go through a process where they send out a questionnaire, maybe they do an interview, and then members of our organization vote on endorsements. So Lancaster stands up, had endorsed candidates, Berks stands up, Lehigh Valley stands up, NEPA stands up, and so all in all we had 55 endorsed candidates, and 50 of them won, which again, statistics major for one night a year. I believe that is a 91% winning in our favor. So that is pretty great. And yeah, you lifted up a lot of them. I'm going to just say a couple more. I'll just say them again because I'm so happy about them. We had county commissioner wins in Berks County, Jess Royer, in Lehigh County, John Irons, and in Lancaster County, Alice Yoder. These
all
are
friends of the pod. All friends of the pod.
That's true. All friends of the pod have been on the podcast or will be on the podcast in season 2. Spoiler, season 2. Yeah, I know. But county commissioner is one of the most important positions in these counties, one of the most powerful positions in the counties. And we have people that are our members or close allies that are now the Democratic nominee for that position. Like you said, in Allentown, we had Cece Gerlach be the highest vote getter on the city council, which is such a big affirmation of Cece's time in office and our movement's power in the Lehigh Valley over the last few years. And then, like you said, across the gamut, we had council candidates, we had the register of wills, we had treasurers, we had school board candidates. And, this is really promising to see people step up, decide to run for office in these places, and then to win their Democratic primaries, right? We should be clear here because we operate in places where there are also Republicans, as you said. A lot of these folks will face Republican competitive elections in November, so it's like not over yet. But getting over this first hurdle is a huge deal, and we just want to say a huge congratulations to all of these candidates who won, and then also the candidates who lost. But it's a very promising sign for our movement today.
And it is not over yet. Name that musical.
Uh, Prince of Egypt. Oh wait,
Ooh,
not a
you
not a
started with a P, and which was good. Parade, which is on
Parade.
Broadway right now. Come on,
Oh, I gotta see it. I gotta see it.
it's really it's great. From what I've heard, haven't seen it, but
Yeah.
it's not over yet. But and so a lot of people feel like if a candidate loses, then it's over. But it really isn't. As someone, I ran for Lehigh County, uh, uh, or Lehigh County chair of the Democratic Party in my county, and I lost by 10 votes.
Oof.
And that was it was pretty brutal, but also because it was a live election, so like people in the room were like filling out the things, and then they hand them in, and it gets counted live, and then we react. So like everyone's like looking at me as like they're calling out the winners, but it took me a couple of days to really come back from that. And people say, don't take it personally, it's just politics. But and we had a lot of first time candidates. Vanessa Campos got the top number of votes, first time running for office. Like there are several other candidates who it was their first time running for anything. They just stood up and said, I want to do something about it. And then they lost their races. And when I ran and lost, it took me a couple of days to come back. And like the professional thing to do is release a statement thanking your volunteers and, saying that you'll stand by the winners and support them going into the general election. But it is intensely personal because we've gotten so many people to put their whole lives out for public scrutiny and tell the public, not just the people that they know, but tell complete strangers, hey, judge, if you think that I'm going to be the right person to represent you in politics. It can feel intensely personal, even if it's just business or just politics. And so for a lot of the people that lost, maybe you're texting them and they're not getting back to you, but the biggest thing that we can do is support them, in whatever endeavor they want to do next. I have found that candidates that lose often do one of three things. Either they lose and they say, I'm out, I'm never getting into politics again, I'm never running for anything ever again, please leave me alone, please stop asking. Or they immediately run for office. They immediately find the next office that they want to run for. They're like, well, that wasn't the right spot for me, I'm going to do this next one. And the third is that the other folks usually like start their own nonprofit, uh, where they say like, look, there's some other way that I can be of service to the community, and it's not through politics because politics is so messy. And no matter what they want to do, it's important that we still reach out, that we still support them, that we find ways to say like, look, maybe this isn't the right avenue for you, but let's keep working together.
Yeah.
But we are only a couple of days past the election, and some people are still really in their feelings. So give them time and give them grace.
Yeah, I want to say a few things about these losses because not every candidate that runs wins, and the thing that's actually true across Pennsylvania, across the United States, is the vast majority of people that run for the first time lose. It is incredibly hard to decide to run, build up a campaign, and win, especially if there's an incumbent. It is nearly impossible. It's definitely not impossible. We've seen incumbents get beat, but it's very, very hard in the political system we have. The other thing I want to point out is that our candidates, people that run on a people-powered platform, we are raising money, getting support from working people from across our communities, right? Some of these candidates that lost probably called everybody in their phone, told them they were running for office, and asked for their support. And the emotional toll it takes to ask people for help, right? We live in this society where you're told that you're supposed to figure out everything on your own. And if you haven't figured it out on your own, you're a total failure. And so what running for office pushes people to do is to ask everyone they know for as much help or support that person is willing to give, right? Will you give money? Will you knock on doors? Will you call this important person and tell them about me? You have to ask people for things again and again and again, and they say yes, or they say no, or they say maybe, and then you have to follow up. it's a huge emotional task to run for office. And so when you run and when you lose, it can feel like that was all for nothing. And it's the double-edged sword about electoral politics is you get feedback in real time, right? You run and then you get the votes or you don't. And if you win, everything that you did was intentional and part of winning. And if you lost, right, either it was a fluke or like you said, everything is terrible because of capitalism, or maybe I'll just start a nonprofit, whatever. And so it's just a huge emotional toll. And some of some of our opponents, right, they will get a check from a wealthy donor for, $500,000, go run your campaign. It's no sweat off their back if they lose, right? In Philadelphia, Jeff Brown, we talked about him a few podcast episodes ago, came in, I think,
enemy of the pod, enemy of the pod,
enemy of the pod. Came in either fourth, fifth, or possibly sixth in the mayor's race in Philadelphia. Dude doesn't care. He's going to go back to running his shop rights, being rich, and like whatever. But for our people who really pounded the pavement, right? There are folks like Amanda McElmurray in Philadelphia, for Helen Gam in Philadelphia. That is going to take some time. And it's well-deserved time to rest and recover and see what is next with clear eyes. But the people that lost are going to go on to do great things. Like I said, people usually lose the first time around, and if they do run again, they sometimes win. What I would say is that if someone is running for the fourth or fifth time and they have never won, it's maybe time to consider starting a nonprofit. But first-time candidates, listen, you learned everything you need to know in that first race, even if you lost. And if you want to do it again, we're going to support you.
Well, and that training, so PA Stands Up has candidate training, and it's run by you and by Maria Andrews, also a friend of the pod, who is our movement politics organizer. And what I noticed, when we sat in the room, it was all either people brand new to politics or, as I said, as I was a loser, I'm still a loser at the time, I'll do the little glee thing, put the shape of an L on my forehead. But we're a room, we were a room full of people who had lost before. A room full of losers. And and for the people that were in that room, those are the people that said, look, this is not over yet. I'm not gonna let that knock me down. And I think that a lot of it does have to do, which is why that training includes fundraising. A lot of it does have to do with money, with capitalism.
Yeah. And so we want to talk about that a little bit before we move on. We spent a lot of time talking about losing because we think it's important that we acknowledge losing, that we talk about what it means for those people. There are a couple other wins I just want to shout out before we move on. I want to shout out Sarah Innamorato, who won out in Allegheny County, will be the next county executive. And Allegheny County just is a progressive beacon of hope right now. You have Mayor Ed Gainey, Congresswoman Summer Lee, and now County Executive Sarah Innamorato. And so much good work out there. Our partners at PA United put in a ton of work and it paid off and they won. I also want to give a shout out to Neil Makija, who won the county commissioner race in Montgomery County, was an underdog, but ran an excellent campaign and is going to be one of the next county commissioners in Montgomery County. So few other wins. And again, just a non-humble brag. We ran 55 candidates, 50 of them won, 91%. Let's go.
Notable shout out also to Tyler Titus, who it will be the first openly trans county executive elected in Pennsylvania, up in Erie.
Hell yeah.
Love to see it.
Incredible. So let's talk a little bit about money, because money is right. It's one of the key things that impacts these races. And something that we talked about it, right? We've been talking about Jeff's a lot. Other enemy of the pod, Jeff Yass, spent a lot of money in this election cycle. There was money coming in to Philadelphia at the last minute, something like $750,000, maybe $1 million spent by Jeff Yass on attack ads against Helen Gam and supporting pro charter and private school candidates. We also saw a lot of other school board races across our regions getting support from Jeffrey Yass or people from that network that are, talking about critical race theory, wanting to ban books, all these sort of things. And even with their money, those candidates, by and large, did not win. Some of them did, and we'll have to face them in the general. But Jeff Yass spread his money around, and in some places it worked, in some places it didn't. But money continues to have a big role in our politics. And there's something that, people say on in our movement, in the way they try to frame it. They often are like, they have the money and we have the people. And the truth is, we need to have the people and also the money, right? Maybe a different source where the money is coming from, but we also need the money. And so our candidates, the ones who really put in the work to fundraise, the one who made those asks that are really hard to make, like you said, like we've been talking about, a lot of those candidates are the ones that won. Some folks did an incredible job fundraising and still didn't win. That's also important to acknowledge. But in our movement, right, if we're going to win elections, we need more than just people. We need people and money.
100%. And as we do call, these Jeffs the enemies of the pod, it's important to remember the old Reclaim Philadelphia adage that we have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. But these guys, like where candidates take their money from and who candidates refuse to take money from absolutely does matter. We have a lot of people who refuse to take money from Jeff Yass and still won, and basically because of how they have decided to use their money it's really tough to get past it. And again, if any of these wealthy donors want to see me as a viable candidate, and my bathroom windows, would greatly appreciate having donations of hundreds of thousands of dollars. But we know that it takes organizing people and organizing money and really getting all of these people together to win. And sometimes it's on the first try, sometimes it's on the second try, sometimes it's on the third or fourth try. But we know that the arc of justice is long and beautiful.
Yes, that is right. That is right. And the thing about no permanent friends, no permanent enemies is it acknowledges that people in politics are dynamic and changing. Right? Some people who were our opponents 4 years ago, we might find on the same side in an election in the coming years. It's why we need to acknowledge that right now progressives don't have enough power to just do everything on our own. Right? Coalition politics win the day again and again because we live in a multiracial democracy where there are different people from different places, from different groups that have different interests. A lot of different there. And the way that you win power in America is you build a coalition of people with different interests, and those people create a majority, and then you win. And so, in some of these places, it is okay to acknowledge that we are not yet the majority as the progressive movement. And so we need allies. And we have found that our allies are people that are doing either similar work to us, communities have similar stake as us, right? In PA Stands Up, we work a lot with Make the Road in our regions, Make the Road Action, which was involved with a lot of our elections, and our coalition together, Make the Road organizing in Latinx communities and immigrant communities. We are able to work together to build a coalition that can win elections.
Yeah, 100%. And in some circles they say oh, we are a diverse bunch of people in that some of us are bald and some of us have hair, some of us wear glasses and some of us wear contacts, and that's not the kind of diversity we need. We need actually people with a variety of different lived experiences, different backgrounds, different education levels, and that's really what's going to move it. And the way that we get more diverse people is by honestly, cracking open the primary like an egg. We need open primaries so that folks that are working families party, folks that are independent. One time I helped a woman register to vote, and I said, "What party do you want to register for?" And she said, "The Rastafarian Party." I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's real, but I'm not, you do you, boo. But I did tell her, if you do that, you can't participate in Pennsylvania primaries because it's a closed primary. And the way that we let everyone participate, we drive out turnout, we get more people involved is by opening up these primaries. And I know that there's a bill in the House that is hopefully going to do that really soon, but there's a lot of people that are really invested in seeing that happen, so that eventually we can create a bigger we. When we talk about who we are, we bring more people into that circle.
Yeah, there are two bills in the House. One actually also got introduced, I believe, yesterday or in the last couple of days, by Republicans that the bill would make it so there are runoff elections if a candidate doesn't win the majority, which is another way that you can make sure that the candidate who wins is actually supported by the majority of people in the district. Is if you have a multi-candidate race, the top two go to a runoff. And so,
Or, hear me out, ranked choice would make sure that you wouldn't have to hold another election.
yeah, but then I get to be a statistician for 2 days. Come on.
Oh, good point. Good point.
It's
Good point.
good. It's good for the resume. But yeah, these are all fixes. These are all things that we've seen in other states and other cities that that can help make it so that the person who is elected is supported by the majority of people.
100%. Yeah. And it has seemed like a fever dream asking for people to actually like support something like open primaries, and seeing it pass the House was just like, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see it happen. Because the more people that we get to turn out in these primaries, just the more we keep winning. But an election isn't the only thing that determines whether we win or lose.
That's right. That's right. The thing that we know is the people who ultimately ran in this election, won or lost in this election. Many of them started by becoming members of local organizations. The ones that we supported became members of Pennsylvania Stands Up. They attended our events, they got involved with our campaigns, and then when the time came, they decided to run for office. And so, folks who are listening, if you want to get involved, you should join a local progressive movement organization, right? If you live in our turfs, you should join our local Stands Up chapter. You live in Philadelphia, join an organization in Philadelphia, in Allegheny County, etc. But the way that we win is that we come together, we build independent organizations, and twice a year we put up some candidates, we win some power, and then we keep on organizing, keep on fighting in the rest of the year, the other 10 months of the year, where there are things to win, there are changes to make in our community, there are people that once you become leaders that then again might run for office in the coming years.
Yeah, and we know that like canvassing is the best way to reach voters, and the way that we do it here, we use the People's Action technique of deep canvassing, and with deep canvassing, we're not just knocking on people's doors and saying, "Hey, vote for this person." We're knocking on people's doors and we're doing deep listening. Right? We are actually listening to their problems. We're finding out what it is that they want to fix in their community, and we are helping them find inroads to actually make those changes, because there's nothing more annoying than only having people knock on your door twice a year and them saying, "Oh, it's because I want your vote." No, we need to engage with these people all the time, which is why PA Stands Up is going to engage in like a little summer listening series as a little sneak preview of what we're going to do over the summer.
Oh, wow. Exciting. I love it. So, Ash, this might be a good place to wrap it up here, we're getting pretty tired and wired. Have here in the notes, completely unhinged, maybe is how we would describe it. But across our chapters, there are lots of ways for folks to get involved. You can click on the mobilized link in the description of the podcast and see the events coming up in our regions. And thank you for being along the journey with us in season 1. Is this the end of season 1, Ash, or is the next episode the end of season 1?
So this episode is the end of season 1. We know that it has. This is our first time trying a podcast. We had a lot of people that have been listening and have been really emboldened and educated because we believe that this is truly news that you can use. It's news that you can take in and then use it to join us and join us in the streets, join us at hella boring city council meetings, and maybe join us as an elected official. But yes, season 2 is going to kick off at the beginning of June. And it's going to be really exciting. We have the chance to talk to Jess Royer, make him a bit of a friend of the pod, and it'll be the 3rd winning county elected candidate for PA Stands Up. So it'll be really exciting. Incredible.
That's right, folks. We talked to the people at PA Stands Up Studios, and they have renewed the pod for a 2nd season. So stay tuned. For now, we are going to say goodbye. Ash, any parting words for the people today?
I think, don't get discouraged. As Pele quoted from a musical that he's never heard, this is not over yet. So stay tuned for the podcast. Remember to if you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button, brother. But tell all your friends about it, because this was our first go around. We really want to make sure that people are engaged, involved, and participating. And let us know, who do you want to hear us interview on the podcast? Pele loves talking to people. So Pele, people, podcast, PA Stands Up. It never stops. It never gets old.
It's all about the P's here. All about the P's. All right, folks. I'm your host, Pele Irgangladen. This has been News You Can Use. And don't forget, Pennsylvania is for all of us. We'll see you in the streets.